don't let that light fool you. While it is very, very nice with that sun on my face, and when that wind drops, believe me you, it is still very, very cold. So here we are, up on Grange. It's mid-December, and I am here to show you how I would use the DNA Baits bundle from the December giveaway that Jake is running on Grange. So this is how I prepare my winter mix using the S7 and all the bits and pieces that we're giving away for this month's competition. First off, we're going to prepare the boilies. Now for this, all I do is I just run them through my fingers, squashing them as I go, and they break down into all sorts of bits and pieces. You'll drop some in there whole, there'll be half ones, squashed ones, crumbed ones. So once you've got the desired amount in there, it will all be bits and pieces with a few holes in there, perfect for winter fishing. Once you've got the desired amount in there, a small drizzle of the most amazing sweet cayenne pepper, super spicy, don't let it get in your eyes. Give it a quick shake. There's lots of little chili bits in there and all sorts of stuff. Don't need huge amounts of it. Next thing, the golden grains. Now there isn't a fish that swims, as the saying goes, that doesn't like a piece of corn. Not a huge amount. You don't want too much yellow out there. The water is super clear. You're going to attract a bird life. They're going to be a real pain. But something in there, a little bit sweet, a little bit of colour. Gives you also hook bait choice as well. Next thing would be the amino smoke. You don't need a lot of this, and I prefer to put this in at the last minute, just before you cast out, or just before you send the boat out, or however you get your bait out there. Put this in last. So what I'll do is I'll give this a shake. And then in your spawn, let's say that's your spawn, drizzle over the top, tiny little drizzle, cast your spot out, and then that smoke then releases straight away. It's all the way down through the column. All those other little bits and pieces that are in there as well, that are alight, will then cascade down over the top of it, leaving this cloud of flavour right through the water column. And hopefully, if they're just sitting off the bottom or anywhere along that water column, it starts to bring them down into your feed area. Alternatively, when you do it on a boat, you can fill up the hopper and drizzle over the top of it. The same rule applies basically. Those Bombay doors open, and then it all cascades down through the water column, and then leaving that trail of amazing attraction through that water column, bringing the fish down and getting them to feed on the spot. The next thing is the PVA bag. The first thing, and I think the hardest thing, is hook bait choice. So for here, I've gone for a boilie out the bag and one of the yellow half-tone wafters. And what I've done is I've taken probably a third of the top of the boilie, the main boilie, and just the top of the wafter itself. So we've got like a dual thing going on. So that gives it a bit of a sight stop. There is some yellow in the mix with the corn, so I'm thinking the yellow would be a good place to start. After that, what I do is I drop the whole thing into the ground bait. Give it a good cover up. And what that does, that takes away any moisture that's on the lead arrangement, the bit of leader, the rig, the hook, anything like that that could then melt the PVA. I'll leave that in there for a minute or two while I prepare myself for the actual bag itself. So grab yourself a bag, find out what way is in, and then at the bottom of the bag I take off just the very, very corner of each side. That will help remove any air later on in the bag making process. I've then got myself one of these little loading tools, and I load it into the bag itself. we'll take our rig out of the bag of ground bait, and then we'll place it into the bag. So the lead itself doesn't go all the way in just yet, and this is how I like to make mine, by the way. There's probably many different ways of doing this, but I like to get the hook bait into the bottom left hand corner with the hook laying flat and the rig almost extending out to the opposite corner. I'll then get a tiny little piece of ground bait and I'll layer that in at the bottom. Spread it all the way out. Lift the rig slightly. There we go. So that is all the ground bait it needs. What's that, about 5, 6, 7 mil, something like that. And then once we've got the amount of ground bait in, we get little bits of pellet, the amazing beta stim pellet, and then use the lead to tap it down. Once we've got maybe 5 mil or so, drop the lead in and leave the lead towards the back of the bag. And then slowly add more pellet, making sure the lead stays towards the back and the pellet is towards the front. And then you want to fill it so there is enough bag left to tie off at the end. Right, so I'm happy with that. Remove the loader tool and then we start tapping it down. Once we're happy we've got as much air out as we can, we start twisting the bag and pushing down, and this is where those air holes in the corner of the bag come in, or start to come in at least. As the more you sort of push down and twist, the tighter that bag becomes and the more air gets pushed out those little corners. Once you've got it as tight as you can, tie it off. Tie it off nice and tight. That bag is now absolutely nice and tight. Now what you can see here is on the back there you can actually see the lead, and this is one reason why I say put the lead towards the back. Now if it's lead heavy at the back, it will drop lead down and the pellet will be at the top, so you're creating this nice little parcel of bait above it. And what we'll do at the very end, we'll pierce some holes in there as well to allow some air to escape, which I'll show you. But now for now we're just going to tidy this up, take away that, and then we're going to fold these corners in. Now push in, clear away any of the ground bait from the corner, and you'll just make an ear almost out of the PVA bag, and you'll tap in, give it a pinch, start teasing it basically up, and once again you've got it as tight as you can, give it a lick and then fold it over. Not too much moisture, you don't want the bag to melt, you only want it to go tacky. And then repeat the process on the other corner. Alright then, tidy up the frill at the top, being careful not to cut the leader. I like to tie a little slit down the side, fold the leader into that slit, pinch it with your finger so you don't cut it, and then trim the frill away. There we go, nice and tidy bag, nice and tight, lead at the back. And then what we'll do, just before we cast this out, we'll add some liquid. Now what you can do, you can add the smoke in, give it a shake, piercing the bag with a nozzle, giving it a good squeeze, letting a little drizzle. Or you could decant some of the cayenne pepper into one of these little squirty bottles, give it a shake. What you do find is, because it's lumpy, it's got those chili lumps in it, the nozzle can block a little bit, so you've just got to be a bit patient with it. But it does go eventually. Like that, there we go. And there we go. So now there is a hole at the front of the bag, and then when it lands, it's going to land lead side down with that hole at the very top. The air is going to bubble out of there. It's going to take some of that liquid with it, so it's going to start creating a nice cloud of flavour around, and then when it eventually breaks down, this dry powder is going to rise up, it's going to take more liquid with it, and it's going to just be an amazing area of aroma, smell and attraction. So that's me now done up here today. You've seen how I would use the bait on this month's giveaway prize. To win that deal, get yourself booked on up here, catch the biggest fish, and the prize could be yours. Get in contact with Jake and we'll see you up here next time.